genuinely, like, I don't know anymore. Like, I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't think we're good. Like, we're not good, right? Like, nobody's good. We are all much closer to becoming homeless than we are to becoming billionaires, you know? And I wish we lived in a society where we like actually cared a little bit more about taking care of our people and less about the fact that a multimillionaire is gonna have to pay an extra $10,000 a year. How am I making so much more than I was 6 or 7 years ago? And yet my situation feels the same, maybe worse. This is truly not how we are meant to be. This is not how we are meant to like thrive. Like, what are we doing? Truly, what are we doing? Hi friends. I don't even really know where to start this today. I just have been feeling like in a weird place, not feeling great, honestly. It's been a rough couple weeks. And so I think this is just gonna be a very stream of consciousness, thinking out loud, rambling, ranting, screaming into the void kind of video. Because I don't know about you all, but I am just feeling so drained and run down and like burnt out. And I haven't been able to put my finger on any one thing. I think it's a confluence of different things. And I don't know, I'm just struggling right now is like the simplest way to put it. I think like, especially with some things that have come up in the news in the last few weeks, and I don't want to do like a deep dive into analyzing the news. Like, honestly, some of this stuff I find so boring, but like it's just relevant to how I'm feeling. So like, for instance, probably a lot of you aren't aware of this because why would you be? Nobody cares about Canadian news. But Canada released a federal budget a couple weeks ago, and in this new budget, they had outlined some changes that they were going to make to how we are going to tax capital gains. And for those of you who don't know, a capital gain is simply the amount you earn on an investment. So if you buy a stock for $100 and then you later sell it for $200, that $100 that you've earned, that's a capital gain. So all we're talking about is like money you make on investments like real estate, stocks, and so on. And my gosh, I do not want to do like an analysis of this change and what it means. But of course, when things like this happen, you know, the intent is for this to be like a wealth tax, to tax more of the capital gains that wealthy people earn. All countries are a little weird in how they tax capital gains, Canada included. So we don't tax them exactly like we do earned income. So you pay less taxes on capital gains than you would on like money you earn at your day job. And so Canada just wanted to change it so that the amount of capital gains that gets taxed is increased. And they're only making this change for people who earn over $250,000 a year in capital gains. You have to be incredibly wealthy for this to apply to you. Like, I don't know if people realize, like, you need to have multiple millions of dollars invested in the stock market to be earning $250,000 a year in capital gains. Like, that's how that works. So you have to be incredibly wealthy for that aspect of the change to affect you. They did change it for corporations as well. So absolutely, like small business owners, those folks are affected as well. And like that part of it, I am less informed about, and I'm sure there's like pros and cons and things like that. But I do know that corporations are already tax advantaged. And that's why people keep their money in their businesses rather than pulling it out as income, because it's advantageous to do so, and it's a tax shelter. So like corporations do get tax benefits. And so like I'm coming up a little empty here, feeling sympathy. But I will acknowledge that at least the corporations and small business side of it is at least a little bit more complicated. But what I really can't get over and what I can't believe is like people coming on the news and trying to get like regular Canadians to feel sorry for these people who are going to be taxed more. I'm sorry. Do you want us to feel bad for someone with like a $10 million stock portfolio who's now going to have to pay like a few thousand extra dollars a year in taxes? Because like, I think you've got the wrong audience. I certainly don't feel bad for them. And then like another example they gave was like, oh, but like imagine your parents bought a cottage, in the Muskokas 30 years ago and they bought it for like 200K and now that cottage is worth $2 million and like you're gonna have to pay more taxes on it. And it's like, I mean, like regular Canadians can't afford food right now, right? Like you want me to feel bad for someone who inherited like a $2 million cottage and now they're gonna have to like pay a bit more tax on that growth for something that they didn't earn at all through something they came into through sheer luck, and they now have generational wealth as a result. And you want me to feel sorry for them for having to pay a little bit of extra in taxes. Like, I'm sorry, like read the room right now. I don't understand what's happening. The audacity of these people to get on TV and actually be trying to make these arguments to regular Canadians is so outrageous to me. Like I truly was like, I can't believe what I'm hearing. Just when you think that the capitalists can't capitalist any harder, just are shoving it down our throats even more. It's like, you all really don't know when to stop. Like I can't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but I think it is as high as literally like 1 in 5, maybe even 1 in 4 Canadians are having trouble buying food right now, are like relying on food banks and are like food insecure. It's like, yeah, no, sorry, John. I don't feel bad if you have to pay like a little bit of extra on your like $2 million house. I'm so sorry. And like the fact that they're actually trying to pander to the masses and like elicit our sympathy for these changes, it's just like, no, tax the wealthy. Good. And like, I'm not here to get into all of the other arguments about like, oh, brain drain and people are going to flee Canada and people aren't going to want to invest in real estate anymore. Good. Don't invest in real estate here anymore. Good. Don't. Maybe let regular people buy houses. And like brain drain, that's already a well-established problem. There's lots of other things we should be doing to resolve that. I don't think adding like a nominal tax is going to be like the thing that now is suddenly driving doctors to the US. Like this change is nominal for the people it's targeting, which is like people who have a lot of money. The funny thing too is that like when I hear people defending or when I hear people arguing against policies like this, any kind of wealth tax, it's like they're full of arguments against it. Oh, brain drain, oh my gosh, we're gonna lose people, Canada's productivity crisis. It's like, well, yeah, like we've already been there. We already have a productivity crisis. So like, but middle class people can't buy food right now. So like, what are your solutions? Because the way that you all have been doing capitalism, we've still just been losing people to the US. We still have a housing crisis. We still have not a great economy. So like, okay, you don't want to tax the wealthy. What do you want to do? The thing that kills me too is like how they manage to rally middle class people around this cause. It's just like, bud, you make 70K a year. This is never going to impact you. How are you possibly defending like the richest, wealthiest people in our country right now from paying their share? Like, do you want to pay more taxes? Because like if wealthy people don't pay more taxes, then like it's going to be middle class people. And so like, do you making 70K a year, do you want to pay more? No? Okay, then who's paying more? Because these are the same people who complain that we don't have healthcare, our infrastructure is garbage. It's just like, well, where are your solutions? Because I'm down with taxing the wealthy. Let's go. Let's do it. And if you think you're going to get an ounce of sympathy from me, that's so wild to me. Like, I truly cannot believe the audacity of like newscasters, of economists and everything after this came out. Like, just like take a look around, read the room, look at what's happening. And I think it just brought up for me so much of this like general fatigue and malaise and exhaustion I feel like living under capitalism. Like, this is truly not how we are meant to be. This is not how we are meant to like thrive. And I say this as someone acknowledging my immense privilege in this. I am so lucky. I like my job and I make good money doing it. And I think that puts me in an incredibly small minority of people. And I still feel like my soul is being sucked from my body, like most of the time, because like living under this system is just inherently so destructive. And it really makes me wonder too. I'm like, if I feel this way, like I can't even imagine how other people and how the most vulnerable people in our society are feeling right now. Like it's truly untenable, and it just breaks my heart. And I wish we lived in a society where we like actually cared a little bit more about taking care of our people and less about the fact that a multimillionaire is going to have to pay an extra $10,000 a year. Like, what are we doing? Truly, what are we doing? I can't. And again, I'm in like a fortunate position in that, you know, I make a good income and I enjoy what I do for the most part, and I like where I work, all of these things. And I still feel incredibly anxious all the time about like money, and I can feel my financial precarity because, you know, it doesn't take much to realize how financially precarious we basically all are. Like we are all much closer to becoming homeless than we are to becoming billionaires, you know? And that really, when I heard that for the first time, that really rang true with me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. Like how many of us would be absolutely screwed in 1 month or 3 months or 6 months or 2 years without income? Like all of us, essentially, I think it's safe to say. So even though I'm doing, you know, relatively well, I still feel so anxious because like I work in tech. I work in a really unstable field. I have no job security. Layoffs in the last 2 years have been bananas. And if I did lose my job, I would be losing my job and walking into an oversaturated job market because everyone else has lost their jobs in the last 2 years. So it's like, I know my situation is precarious and I'm single. I don't have the safety net of having a spouse who also earns an income, or I don't live with family who can, you know, are covering my rent or bills, or like, it's just me. It's just me. And so I'm like very aware of that. And so it's hard not to be stressed about that, kind of, you know, in the background all the time. And like, I also have some health issues. And so I'm always kind of like aware of, you know, the possibility of like becoming disabled. And I know that that's not something that a lot of people think about, but it's like a reality for like many of us in our lives that we will become disabled. And like most people are not prepared for that eventuality financially. And like, again, we don't have these social safety nets in our societies to like care, at least in Canada and the US, to like adequately care for people in those situations. And it just feels so frustrating and defeating. It makes me so sad at a collective level, at an individual level. And I think it's really just disconcerting because I think about how much time and effort and training I've put into my career and leveling up and growing my skills and growing my income over the last few years. And I feel like I should be in this situation where I feel like I've like made it, you know? I've made it, I've arrived. And like, I don't feel that way at all. I don't feel that way at all. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you know, but rent is like $1 million and groceries are like $1 billion and my car is like $1 bajillion and the vet is like a bazillion. Like, it's just like the more I earn, I'm like, how am I making so much more than I was 6 or 7 years ago? And yet my situation feels the same, maybe worse. Like, it's just so defeating. And then you're like, what is it all for? You know, like I had a conversation with my sister a few weeks ago, and she lives in Australia, and she's taking some time between jobs. Like she just wrapped up her last role and she's freelancing, and she's been a freelancer for the last few years. So now she's just working for herself at the moment and, you know, like not rushing to find a day job. And obviously that choice, you know, comes with some financial like precarity, right? Because freelancing is less stable. She doesn't have like a steady paycheck coming in every couple of weeks. But it was interesting talking to her because like she's like, I would still rather do that. Like I'd rather be worried about money, but at least like my days are my own and I can structure my days how I want and I can actually, I don't know, exercise, go be outside, go do something nice for myself. And wow, yeah, that really landed with me, you know, as someone who, even though I work fully remotely, I spend all day, every day, like essentially chained to my desk. It's beautiful outside, and I'm like looking outside at the beautiful spring weather and thinking how nice it would be to go for like an hour-long walk, and can't really do that. And again, I enjoy what I do. It's not about that. It's just about like, why are we all still trapped at desks for like 40 or 50 hours a week? Like with the technology we have, with how far, like, this doesn't seem necessary anymore. Why are we doing this? Like the robots are making art and we're the ones like tied to our desks. That was supposed to go a different way. Like I thought we were going to delegate the menial tasks to the robots and not all the fun creative things, but like, what is this hellscape we have created? Like, what are we doing? And I think if you take a step back and look at it and think about it too much, you're like, whoa, like actually, what are we doing? And I think that's just like what my headspace has been for the last couple weeks. What are we doing? And I think it's just been like a bunch of other random small things in my life over the last few weeks, you know, like my car got totaled like a few weeks ago. And then that was adding all of this, you know, added financial stress to my life. And insurance ended up paying for it, and, you know, it all worked out fine and everything. But for a minute there, I was just like, what if I have to pay my deductible? Like, what if my car insurance like just scraps my car completely? Because they could do that. It was enough damage that I was worried that they were going to actually just like write off my entire car. And like, I still have a car loan on this car, so I would be out a car. Of course they would write me a check for like the value of the car, but I was like, it would be enough for me to pay off my loan and then maybe have like a few $1,000s. Like, it would not have been enough to buy like a new car, or like even just like a new used car. Like, it wouldn't have been enough for me to replace my car. Like, I would have been screwed. I would have just had to take out another big loan or like go without a car. And luckily that didn't happen, but I was just like, it's so nuts to be like making good money and like to be in a relatively good situation and to still be stressing this much about like, oh my gosh, what if I have to pay my like, you know, $500 deductible? Or like, then even I just found out that my all seasons tires that I was just about to pull out of storage, I found out like that they're no good and they recommend not putting them back on the car. And like, they were old. I knew I was pushing my luck with those tires, but I thought I was going to get one more season out of them, which I was really hoping for because I just bought brand new winter tires, which ran me like $700 just in November. And now I have to pay like another $700 for like new all seasons. And I just, it just like, it never seems to end. There's always something. And like, that's just what I'm feeling right now. I'm just like feeling the fatigue of like, there's always something. Can I just get like a month where there isn't like a random $700 bill? You know what I mean? Like, it's just so exhausting. And like, yeah, I know that this is what being an adult is, and like yada yada yada, and like, I know, but like, it's just, it's relentless. And it just feels so relentless, especially now for our generation, for millennials and Gen Z, I feel like, because it's like, there's also nothing to look forward to. Like, what am I doing? I'm working 40 to 50 hours a week so that I'll never be able to buy a home. So that I'll never even be able to, like, owning a new car. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. That's not even like an aspirational goal. It just feels like maybe one day it would be nice to buy a new Toyota Corolla. And I genuinely am like, wow, that feels so out of reach. And I make 6 figures. So like, how sad is that? Yeah, forget buying a house. I'm like, basic things, just feeling financially stable, having a 6-month emergency fund. Like, I don't have that. I don't have that much money saved. I need to start slowly like contributing towards it again, but I haven't had enough money to do that, to be contributing towards my emergency fund. I have not had enough money to do that. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know where this rant is going. I didn't have any planned objective in this conversation. I just really needed to like talk this out loud, I feel like. I'm just wondering how you all are doing. Like, am I losing it? Like, is this just me? I genuinely, like, I don't know anymore. Like, I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't think we're good. Like, we're not good, right? Like, nobody's good. We're all kind of like in this. But then I start to second guess myself, because then I'm like, well, I don't know. Sometimes it does seem like everyone is good. And I'm like, I can barely like even think about my job a lot of the time because of like what's happening in the world and like how distressing I find all of this. And sometimes I just feel like a little bit alone in that. I don't know. Anyway, we should take better care of people in our societies. There should be social safety nets. And what are we doing? Like, let's just take care of each other. But like, no, we don't want to do that. Like, okay, it's just so depressing, I guess. And I don't know, maybe it's a rough couple weeks, and I'm sure this will, ebb and flow, and sometimes you just gotta try and do what you can do in a broken system to take care of yourself while, fighting to change the system. And so that's what I will continue to do. But it really just sucks to feel so like financially vulnerable all the time and so burnt out. Like, I genuinely am like, I don't know how much longer I can work, and I'm only 36. I don't know how much more I have in me. Yeah, that's a pickle. Retirement. It's probably another thing that we might not get to do. I think there's a better chance of me retiring than ever buying a home in the greater Toronto area. So, silver lining. Yeah. Anyway, how are you all doing? I hope you're doing better than I am. I really do. But, talk to me in the comments. If you're feeling the same, let me know. Let's create like a mental support group, because genuinely, I don't know anymore. I don't know. Okay, rant over. I promise I will try to make the next video more concise, more well thought out about a particular topic. Who knows? But for this week, I needed to get some stuff off my chest. So thank you for listening, and I will see you on the next one.